Greetings. Just want to go through this real quick because I'm not having a lot of time to, do these things. But first is giving thanks to the brothers who have been making ultimate sacrifices for us. Brother Micah X, Brother Lakeem Scott, Brother Antonio Taylor, and Brother Cosmo. Also want to acknowledge and put some recognition towards other groups and individuals who are doing work. The African People's Socialist Party, Uhuru Movement, New Era Detroit, New Era Chicago, New Era Atlanta, and others who are not getting the recognition. And don't trip on who their media promotes, because they're going to promote the lesser threat. All right, that's part of their strategy. Don't get so caught up in the celebrities now getting a voice and saying the same things a lot of us been saying. Again, that's just part of how it plays out. Like one of my elders, Roland Freeman, told me a couple years ago, rest in power, just keep organizing. And anybody that you see pushing some BS, just out organizing. That's the main thing. As far as this bank black movement, yes, it is a great movement. A lot of our folks is feeling it. They doing it. Those who are in a position to bank. And on the other end, some people are being super critical of it. What I see is that white nationalist banks have been a major source of our problem. They've been financing a lot of the madness. They control a lot of the politicians. They're behind a lot of the corporations. So on the opposite end, we need to utilize the black bank, to combat that. And that is where people are going to have to hold the executives, the board members, and the owners of these black banks accountable. They can't just, be the sole individuals who, reap off of this transition, because they then become a black elitist, a black 1%, neo-capitalism. And white nationalist banks then take control of them. They either submit and go along with what they will dictate to them, or they'll be done like Muammar Gaddafi, which is one of the reasons he was taken out, attempting to organize the African nations into an independent economic situation. So, reinvesting in the community is most definitely one of the things, but also people have been talking about loans and credit, and for too long, black people have been exploited by that. Charge high rates on the loans and credit, but then paid low returns on the money that, people are allowing the banks to hold. So that gap is going to have to be shortened, but also other programs to support the communities that are investing in the banks. Ultimately, going to have to look at severing the relationships with, American, European, Israeli banks, and possibly look at relationships with BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa came together and built up a economic alternative to the IMF and World Banks. But also just looking at other African nations like Ghana, Zimbabwe, and possibly building relationships with them and seeing how transitions can be made from white-controlled banks to those. Otherwise, yeah, we're just gonna fall back into control of white banks. Just like BET was one time owned by blacks. Sooner or later they'll try to do the same thing with these banks. But also, like I was saying, they did with Gaddafi. Black banks are going to have to invest in security forces because they are very aggressive and violent in how they seek to control everything. And economics is most definitely one of the things they will come after. It's no doing good business with them. There's no fair play with them. So thinking, just moving the money from their banks to our banks is, the solution. We got a lot of more steps with that, but salute to everybody who is taking the first step. Also, community patrols have been stepping up. Been seeing brothers and sisters everywhere, Facebook Live and live streaming and video, all of these movements of these psychopaths throughout our communities, which is most definitely needed. But at the same time, I encourage everyone to train and prepare yourself to intervene when you see these psychopaths attacking our people, when you see them violating our rights. Because again, we know, their laws, their system, of course, all of that is unjust to us. So we are going to have to, keep advancing, taking these patrols to the next level, to where finally, we're having tribunals and able to bring them and hold them accountable. But yeah, community patrols is most definitely a first step. Continue to educate our people to move away from 911, but we're going to have to be able to have a adequate response team, not just for violent emergencies, but also for medical emergencies. Everyone who has the know-how of medical assistance, this is the time to start having those meetings, those conferences, and seeing how we can come up, with our independent services. As far as this RNC, some people saying don't pay attention to it. Some people I'm seeing who haven't been politically involved are now involved in that. And I will say a couple things to pay attention to. One, there's a lot of information that shows presidents aren't elected, but they're selected. So once you know that, you have to see that the whole DNC, RNC things are shows. And you have to figure out what the show is about, what are they trying to do with the show, and to whatever effect it has on our people. What they're doing with white folks is, pushing this race war. People say when we talk about what's going on, we're pushing a race war, blah, blah, blah. But if you pay attention to what they're doing with this RNC, they are rallying white people, trying to scare them into going, getting more guns, basically saying the police have the right to be shooting down all these men, women, and children. And now that, we are defending ourselves, that all of them as white people uninvolved should now, be getting guns and scared and ready to come out and defend their good, decent police and whatnot. So they're playing on their pathologies to get involved in this in a violent way. But part of that is us continue to prepare ourselves, because whether these cats want to talk about hugging and peace, and they're not going to stop doing what they're doing. Just lastly, last week here in LA, it came to another ugly head with this dude Najee Ali, and people are saying it's a time all of us need to get along, but history shows us it's been too many of our own weak people that have sold us out, and that is the position he plays. Information came out, he actually put out that he's working with the mayor. He's part of what they call a crisis response team, and basically he's going to family members who have lost loved ones and, getting information and taking it back. And as I pointed out last week, beyond that, he's shown clearly he's not doing that in our interest. When he points out people who are protesting or whatever to the police to be arrested by the same police who are killing us, to be taken into the jails where they're already killing people, Sandra Bland, Waukesha Wilson, that's not somebody who is working with us. Yeah, he can smile and he does all these things that obviously is fooling people, but you have to pay attention to the things he's doing as an all-out traitor. So, salute to everybody just stepping up. But again, these people are not just playing chess, they're playing life. So a lot of times people say, you know, we playing checkers while they playing chess. No, they are playing life. Political science, military science, biochemical warfare, psychological warfare, and even people who are good speculators have to understand everything that's happening we can turn to our advantage some way, somehow. It's not just about being critical of what other people are or not doing, but it's actually figuring out what we got to do. And we doing, y'all. Respect, salute.